Metaphor involves likeness between inanimate and animate objects. We deal with personification. For example, snow speaks to the people. Its white sparkling voice echoes as it falls through the air. Or the house whispers in David Lawrence's famous story, The Rocking Horse Winner. I hate our house for whispering. In a spoken phrase, there must be more money, there must be more money, whispered throughout the house. The text All Summer in a Day has many examples of poetic devices, such as alliteration and simile. For example, how like a lemon it was, and how hot. Repetition. These children could never remember a time when there wasn't rain and rain and rain. Metaphor. I think the sun is a flower. Personification. The children lay out, laughing, on the jungle mattress, and heard it sigh. Hyperbole. Heard the gigantic sound of the rain falling in Townsend avalanches, etc. Describes the figurative language used in the story and how this language helps to contribute to the meaning, setting, theme, plot, and characters of the story. Interpret figurative language to understand the author's message. Figures, syntactic stylistic devices. Repetition. Repetition is just a simple repetition of a word within a sentence or a poetical line, with no particular placement of the words. This is such a common literary device that it is almost never even noted as a figure of speech. Epizeuxis or palilogy. It is a repetition of a single word with no other words in between. This is from the Greek words fastening together. For example, words, words, words. Anadiplosis is a repetition of the last word of a preceding clause. The word is used at the end of a sentence and then used again at the beginning of the next sentence. For example, the longer life, the more offense. The more offense, the greater pain. The greater pain, the less defense. Anaphora. Anaphora is a repetition of a word or phrase at the beginning of every clause. For example, we shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds, we shall fight in the fields and in the streets, we shall fight in the hills, we shall never surrender. Epistrophe is a repetition of a word or phrase at the end of every clause. What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny compared to what lies within us. It's a kind of antonym for anaphora. Asyndeton is a deliberate avoidance of conjunctions in constructions in which they would be normally used. Polysyndeton is an identical repetition of conjunctions used to emphasize simultaneousness of described actions, to disclose the author's subjective attitude towards the characters, to create the rhythmical effect. Find syntactic stylistic devices in the story All Summer in a Day and explain how they help to contribute to the meaning, setting, theme, plot, and characters of the story. And now critical thinking and interpretation. Having read the story, what do you think the title All Summer in a Day means? What causes the conflict between Margot and the other children? Did the children envy Margot? And now your response to literature. Have you ever been envious of one of your friends? How did these feelings make you act towards that person? Describes the problem and the type of conflict in the story. And your response to literature. What causes the conflicts between people? When you hear the word conflict, what comes to mind? Aggression, fighting, or what? Can you explain the hatred towards Margot? And again, your response to literature. Have you ever hated anyone? If so, did you try to overcome the hatred? How did you manage it? Did it take you long to recover from hatred? Have you been hated by anyone? Is it possible to make friends with a person you hated? What do you think? Why people react so painfully when they're not loved by others? What happened to Margot at the end of the story? Why does the author not make it clear? And now about individual style. Individual style makes the writer's works easily recognizable. After reading the story All Summer in a Day by Ray Bradbury, can you recognize his style if you happen to read his other works? What makes his style so singular? And about writing skills focus. Plot summary. Write a plot summary of the story in short essay form, not more than 4 or 5 paragraphs. You can use the following plan. Tell briefly what the story is about and where it takes place. In chronological order, include the most important events in the story. Tell what happens at the end of the story.